You know, the swampiest of swamp creatures is what earmarks are. It just doesn't get any worse. It's not on merit. There's no cost-benefit analysis. There's no competition. It's who you are, who you know, what lobbyists you've hired, what party you're in, what committee you serve on, and whether you're a chairman. Now, nowhere in that list do I see a good deal for taxpayers. I see sprinkling fairy dust in a back room and overruling local and state planning. What drives me crazy is when advocates for earmarks say, well, you're giving the bureaucrats all the power, and this is the congressional power of the purse, which is such, pardon the expression, hogwash, because take the highway bill in 2005. In 2005, the highway bill alone had close to 15,000 earmarks, totaling over $30 billion. Now, what do those earmarks do? Take my state. We have a rigorous local planning process all over the state. Regional planning commissions, I'm sure other states have the same thing. In St. Louis, it's East-West Gateway, and in Kansas City, it's MARC. And all of the local folks come together and look at what projects need to be funded on merit. And then the State Highway Commission does a list of priorities. And what do earmarks do? They blow up that local planning and substitute what one individual member of Congress might want based on a friend they might have or a lobbyist that used to work for them. And so what happened with all those earmarks in the 2005 highway bill? Fast forward a decade, and what we had to do was include in the 2015 highway bill the Orphaned Earmark Act, because there were billions of dollars that had been unspent. Because the way this stuff is done, sometimes it duplicates money, sometimes it's too much money, sometimes it hasn't been planned or thought out. So billions of dollars set around gathering dust instead of being deployed into the critical infrastructure needs we have in this country. That's just one example of the mess that earmarks create. But probably the most insulting thing about this is some notion that in order for Jeff and I to get along and agree on anything, we got to be bought off with an earmark? Really? Is that what this place has come to? The only way we can do our work is if somehow we get to go to the head of a line and get a project that local planners haven't prioritized, or formulas don't allow the state to get it. Tiger grants have done a great job. They're competitive. There's no secret process as to who gets it. You have to have a proposal and matching money. There's so many right ways to spend public money. And the worst way to spend public money is an earmark.
Let me just pick up on one thing that she said, this notion that this is how Congress provides oversight is through earmarking. Earmarking, at best, at its heyday, was only about 3% of the federal budget. But let me tell you, the committees that either authorize or appropriate money during that heyday of earmarking, virtually all of their time was spent managing earmarks. And that is it. And I still remember, I related on the floor the other day, one experience I had in the House where we were in the basement. This was the Republicans having our meeting, and one member just ran in. You know, he'd run all the way down the stairs and just out of breath to hand out the sheet because it had just come from the Appropriations Committee of the earmarks that were in a particular bill. And his advice was, get to a camera, announce it before the Senate takes credit for it. And so it's all about you know, who gets credit for which earmark, and the Appropriations Committee spends all its time just trying to please the members by doling out that kind of money and renaming projects to try to keep people like Claire and me from poking fun at it on the Senate or the House floor, to calling it something different than it really is, to avoid ridicule when you're getting money for that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame or Punxsutawney Phil in Pennsylvania or whatever else. Teacup, right there in back of you, yep. So with that, any questions?